have to worry about the lighting system. We can just go. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome at 5:32 to the City Council work session for Tuesday, October 5th, 2021. We are in council chambers, which is unusual for a work session, but we've got some work to do with our various commissions tonight and their proposed work plans. So I'm going to call the meeting to order, and we're going to have roll call. Clerk Allison, please.
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Jackson.
Here.
Councilmember Pierce.
Here.
Councilmember Staunton.
Here.
Mayor Hovland.
Here. And then we're going to roll immediately into the 2022 Commission proposed work plans. I'm going to turn it over now to Assistant City Manager Lisa Schaefer, who will guide us through the first part of the conversation, and we'll have chairs of the various commissions coming forward on about a 7-minute cycle through the next hour of the work session. Assistant City Manager Schaefer.
Thank you, Mayor. We will use the same process this year that we've used in previous years. As you said, the only difference is that we're in the council chambers. So MJ Lehman is going to run through very briefly the process that we use, and then we'll use the rest of the time to hear from the commission chairs.
Hello. Thank you for having me here. As Lisa mentioned, I'll do a brief overview and then we'll move right into the chairs. As you all know, we do have a pretty robust work plan process. We'll go into this a little bit more at the next session, but what I think is important for you guys to know tonight is that, our commission work plans is one part of that process that's kind of happening at the same time as we're actually doing the rest of our work plans. This is what our work plan calendar looks like for this year. So tonight, chairs are going to present November 3rd. Staff will come back with some recommendations. December 7th is when you actually will approve those work plans. And starting January of 2022 is when the commissions will start working on those work plans. For tonight, here's the roles. So our chairs are here either virtually or in person. They're going to present their proposed initiatives to the council. Council, this is your chance to ask questions and get any clarification that you may have on their work plans. Staff liaisons are also here or listening virtually, and so they're just observers tonight and don't actually have a speaking role. The next steps, November 3rd, city manager and team will make recommendations based on that citywide view when we're talking about our overall work plan process. Staff liaisons will be in attendance again and available for questions. Staff will receive the feedback from council, so we'll take that and actually incorporate it into those work plans and brought back to City Council December 7th so that you can approve them. Tonight is our order, so we're going to try to stick to this, and we're in about a 7-minute cycle, which includes them presenting their initiatives and also answering questions from the council. So I'm going to turn it over now back to the mayor. Julia Sellies is virtual, and she'll be first up tonight to present.
All right, very good. Thank you, Ms. Lehman. And Ms. Sellies, Chair Sellies?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
Can you hear me?
there you are.
Yes, we can
Yeah,
hear
we
you.
can hear
Okay.
and see you.
Just making sure. You're really small, so I can't get a thumbs up from this distance.
Could
Okay.
use a little more volume on your side.
Okay. I will speak as loud as I can. Is that better?
Better.
Okay, great. So from the Community Health Commission, we have 4 initiatives that I'd like to present tonight. 3 of them are kind of expansions on last year, and 1 is a new initiative. The first initiative is to review and recommend possible city-specific measures to enhance awareness of opioid use, abuse, and disposal. And we did submit a study this year report to you, so you should have gotten that.
Chair Sellies, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
You're starting to break up. Hold on, bear with us a moment here.
Yeah.
Wondering too if you could, maybe we should try having you go off video.
I can do that. Is that any better?
No, it's just the same. So come on back so we can enjoy your company.
No, let me see. I can switch my audio.
We're not, I don't know if we're sure where the issue is.
Okay.
We think it's on your end, unfortunately, Chair Sellies.
Okay. Well, let me see if I
Could we
can
try
switch
without
back.
headphones?
Yeah.
Could you try without headphones? Sometimes that'll work.
Is that any better?
Yeah, a lot better.
Maybe.
Yes, that's perfect.
Better?
All right, that is better.
That is
Yeah,
better.
that's better.
Okay, well, that's great. For once, my headphones were not the best option. Okay, so I will review the first initiative again then. So the first initiative is to review and recommend possible city-specific measures to enhance awareness of opioid use, abuse, and disposal. This past year, we did do a study, and you should have gotten a report from us on that. So the continuation from this year for next year would be to review and to recommend issues on or measures on that. The second initiative is also an progression of last year, and this would be review and recommend possible city-specific actions, policies, or code changes regarding smoking activity in multi-unit properties based on the previous report. And that report is ready. The current year's report is ready, and we're going over it actually at our meeting next week before we send it to you, just so you know that. The third initiative is also an expansion on some work that was done this year, and that report is being reviewed next week as well at our meeting, is to review and recommend possible city-specific initiatives to enhance social connectedness, particularly in this, I would love to say post-pandemic time, but unfortunately we're still in it. So particularly things that have happened, during the COVID pandemic, and how the COVID pandemic has really impacted our social connectedness over the last 20 months. And we have one of our student reps working on that with us because we know they're doing a lot of initiatives at the high school right now on that. And the fourth initiative, which is a new one, and that is a study and report. And this was brought up to study and report feasibility of adopting the American College of Surgeons Stop the Bleed program to the city. And this is about focusing on first responding to incidents. Did I go too fast?
You provide a little more detail around issue number 4 or initiative number 4, please?
Yeah. So Stop the Bleed, it's a program, and particularly when we're talking about first aid, Stop the Bleed it's an educational program that teaches people what to do in emergency situations if there is an incident where someone is losing a lot of blood. So this is based on a study that if you can, stop the bleed, if you will, people have a higher success rate and a higher probability of having successful outcomes post some traumatic event.
Thank you.
Yep.
Council members, did that cause anyone to have questions for the chair? Those proposed initiatives? Councilmember Jackson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I have two questions for you, or a question and a comment. The question is, we're hearing from the sheriff tonight. Do you have any questions for him about your opioid project that we could ask him?
Yeah, we know that we do have for opioid disposal. We know that the city does have bags that residents can go and obtain to dispose of opioids. I think they're like charcoal bags where you add them and you add water and then you seal them. And so, we know that. I think it's a little bit more about more education, and maybe if there's any information they could give us about maybe initiatives that they might have going on or might be thinking about starting, that'd definitely be helpful so we could have some joint work there.
Terrific, thank you. The other is a comment, and you've working on the social connectedness. A number of commissions are doing events in their work plan, and I had noted the EEC and the arts and the parks were all kind of looking at connectedness. So I would encourage you to, if you could, take a look at their events and see if you guys have any pointers for them on how to incorporate social and mental health in their events. Because if we're already having events, it'd be great to use your wisdom on that. And I like cross-commission work too, so thank you.
Thanks.
Other council members? Questions? Councilmember Pierce? Oh, no, okay. Chair Sellies, I'm wondering if you've had much conversation in the commission about what we now know to be, according to the League of Minnesota Cities, the #1 problem for cities across the state, and that is mental health, the challenges around mental health. And if you've given any thought internally as to whether it might be worthwhile adding an additional initiative around mental health or substituting something involving mental health for, let's say, initiative #4, for example, that's new. Because of the sort of ongoing challenges that all of our communities are facing. Has there been discussion about that at the commission level?
Yeah, at this point, I think we were kind of considering that part of the social connectedness and kind of I don't know how to exactly phrase this, the mental health fallout of the last year and a half. Now, granted, mental health issues did not, they started well before COVID, but I think that we think that COVID has kind of amplified that, and that's everything that we found at this point. But that's a great idea.
Okay, well, thank you for doing that.
Mhm.
Other questions for the chair? All right, thanks for being with us.
Okay, thank you. Have a
And,
great night.
in our hybrid format, and I have to say, I think it worked pretty well once you took your headphones off. So
Yeah.
we'll
You
just
never-
experiment a little bit. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being with us. And then we're going to move on now to the Heritage Preservation Commission. That's Chair Annie Schilling. She's with us in person.
I am Annie Schilling. I am the chair of the Heritage Preservation Commission. It is a pleasure to be here tonight. I will quickly go through our initiatives and then take questions. So Initiative 1, review and decide on certificates of appropriateness, also referred to as COAs, the applications for changes to heritage landmark designated properties. That's an ongoing initiative. We do this year round, and it does involve the entire commission. Initiative 2, recruit nominees and award and promote the 2022 Heritage Preservation Award during May, which is Preservation Month. We have a lead. Our co-chair, Sarah Nimmo, is the lead on this, though all of us on the commission do outreach within the community to identify potential winners of this Heritage Award, and this is always a delightful event in May. Initiative 3, based on owner interest, nominate eligible properties as Edina Heritage Landmarks and add additional properties to the eligible properties list. We do from time to time get inquiries from homeowners. We do maintain a list of possible resources, historic resources that could be considered to become heritage landmark properties. And again, this involves the entire commission, and these come to us on a case-by-case basis, both from homeowners as well as community members suggesting possible properties and commissioners suggesting those as well. Initiative 4, review the plan of treatment document for each landmark property. Once a property is designated with the heritage landmark notice, there is what is called a plan of treatment generated. And that plan of treatment is essentially our roadmap on maintaining that heritage landmark. Anytime a change is needed or desired to that landmark property, it must come before the Heritage Preservation Commission for us to grant that certificate of appropriateness, which was touched on in Initiative 1. We feel as a commission, it's an important thing to review those plans of treatment regularly. And this coming year in 2022, we plan to do month by month, go over the plan of treatment for each of the designated landmark properties so that that can remain fresh. We can identify any needs for change going forward. Initiative 5, explore the development of a Century Home Recognition Program in Edina. This would be based on programs in other cities. We would define the resources needed to manage a potential program in the future. We have a very, very active Commissioner Jane Lundquist, as well as Mark Hassenstab, who are heading this up. There are communities close to us who grant an award, a recognition for homes that are 100 years old or older. And Edina has some of these. And we are interested as a commission to explore the process of creating this type of program so that we can honor those properties that have withstood the test of time. Initiative 6, test archaeological model created by the 2019 archaeological study. This last year, the Heritage Preservation Commission was lucky enough to gain a commissioner who is in fact an archaeologist. 2 years ago, we began the process of an archaeological study where we got grant money to fund an archaeologist doing a survey of possible archaeological sites. And in 2022, in Initiative 6, we hope to test that initial model that was created 2 years ago. We will be using community outreach. We will be using our archaeologist commissioner, as well as the students that he works with that actually do need to do volunteer work in the field in order to get their degrees. So all of those together are going to allow Edina to take the next step in an archaeological study. Initiative 7, use education to promote preservation and avoid demolition by neglect. This is headed up again by Jane Lundquist and Mark Hassenstab, as well as Commissioner Bob Cundy. In this last year, we have come across a clear issue in which we have identified the need to educate owners of historic properties on what their responsibilities are in terms of the plan of treatment that is attached to their historic property. And we feel as a commission that education is a great place to start. We hope to create and distribute educational materials to property owners. We hope to educate not only the property owners, but real estate agents that sell properties in the historic neighborhood, contractors, and any city staff who it's really anybody who may interface with the plan of treatment for the historic neighborhood. And with that, I am happy to take any questions.
Yes, you've got an ambitious agenda.
Yes, we do. I will say, this commission has an enormously gifted group of commissioners who are extremely active and very, very willing to put their time and resources into these initiatives. And that is really allowing us to have an aggressive work plan for 2022. But we do feel confident that these are achievable.
Good. Chair, questions for the chair, comments? Member Anderson?
Thank you. Chair Schilling, I'm wondering, I'm looking at initiative number 6.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's intriguing. I'm wondering, have you considered sites yet around town at all?
That is exactly what this initiative, what the next step will be. So when the initial possibility, I'm going to call it a possibility map, was created, the archaeologists created sort of a zone of real possibility. And what we hope to do in this next step is to take that initial possibility map, overlay it with an actual map of Edina, and really test a couple of spots. and doing this with trained archaeologists and trained archaeological students, it's going to help us really narrow down some possibility of discovering some archaeological
What kind of
resources.
funding would be required for that?
Amazingly enough, in the model that we have created, almost none. The students will be doing it on a volunteer basis. The archaeologist, who is the commissioner, is also doing it graciously on a volunteer basis. We plan to do the public outreach component of this through programming that will be formalized through Edina Community Ed and a partnership with hopefully the Parks and Rec through the city. There will be a nominal fee charged to the public, and those fees will cover any screens or shovels or any of the tools that will be needed to do these digs. And because of that, there's really no cost involved.
Thank you, Ed. Good luck with that.
Thank you. I'm
Other
excited.
questions, comments? Member Pierce.
Just another follow-up question on Initiative 6. It's very intriguing, to say the least. What is the time frame for this particular initiative from concept to actually learning or delivering an outcome?
The time frame, so it has been pretty significantly conceptualized at this point.
Okay.
The next steps will be for the commissioner, who is the archaeologist, to get the map, the possibility map, to take a look at the sites to determine their location. While he is doing that, as well as organizing the students that he works with that will be participating, the programming component through Community Ed and Parks and Rec can be happening. And then the public interaction will happen in the spring. May is History Month, and we always strive to have some sort of public interactive event. And this beautifully dovetails with that. So that I think it's going to take most of the year through the spring in order to achieve this.
Other questions for Chair Schilling? I've got a couple for you. With respect to initiative number 1 and review and decide on certificates of appropriateness, which is an ongoing sort of task or obligation on the part of the Heritage Preservation Commission, how many of those are you dealing with on an annual basis, and what percentage of those are garages versus homes?
Those are numbers I don't have exactly, but I can give you sort of my anecdotal off the cuff answer. I would say that we average 2 per meeting per month. I think that it's probably, I would say it's a high percentage with just sort of the garages, maybe 2/3 versus 1/3. But again, I would have to tap my city staff resource, Emily, to get those true numbers.
Okay. And then with respect to the COAs or the plan of treatment, I continue to worry about at least one home and country club. It's, I think, now been sitting empty for close to 5 years. Had a plan of treatment, I imagine, at one point in time authorized. And it doesn't seem like anybody can afford to do it or is capable of performing on that plan of treatment. What do we do about properties that are sitting idle like that for an extensive period of time? I mean, do we go back and look at them again and try to think about ways that we can maintain that historical character? Do we consider possibility that it might be better to just tear them down and build something that's consistent architecturally with what's in the country club district? What's the thinking?
You know, it's a really good question. And this is a question that the commission talks about frequently. Emily has reminded us time and time again that truly the process we have in place is working. And that being, if a homeowner owns an historic property in the country club district and wants to make a change, they come to us. We evaluate their proposal and grant or deny based on the plan of treatment. Beyond that, we don't necessarily have an outreach plan for a home that's been vacant for 5 years. If that home sells again and the new owners have a new proposal, and that seems to be what the cycle is in a situation like this. And again, what is in place does seem to work. There has been hiccups this year, and we're trying to identify where the bumps in the road are in order to head those off versus having to we would prefer to be proactive instead of reactive in situations like this. And for the most part, 99% of the time, the process in place is proactive. But going forward, it's important for us to identify where we can maintain the proactive
So
stance.
do you know the status of that property on Bridge in Browndale? Is it still sitting empty, or has somebody purchased it and come back into you for a revised plan of treatment?
We have not had a revised plan of treatment recently, and that is all I know. I would have to, again, confer with my city liaison.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions that prompt anything from council members for Chair Schilling? Well, that's to you and the group for all of this. Yeah.
So
Councilmember
there
Jackson.
are, I don't know if this would apply to your properties, but there are low-income grants available for upgrading environmental things, and it includes sealing driveways and stuff like that. I just wanted to let you know that
Thank
those
you.
are out there.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. And Grace Hancock would know a lot more than I do.
Okay.
So
I
but-
appreciate knowing
yeah.
all of that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
So thank you.
All right, good. Well, thank you for being with us this evening
You're very welcome.
in our hybrid format. And next we've got Kate Agnew from the Planning Commission. Sure,
Evening.
welcome.
So initiative number 1 is review land use applications. Don't need to go any further on that. Initiative number 2 is continuing the area study for the Cahill Industrial Park, and really ultimately coming up with a district plan recommendation to the city council on that. That is something that is being co-chaired by David Alkire and myself. Initiative number 3 is really reevaluating and reconsidering the sketch plan process, which includes an examination of the development process, how we get public feedback, and then the number of public hearings. This is something that we were organically thinking of as a planning commission, but it was also something that was recommended by the Housing Task Force. And that is being led up by Rachel Bartling. Initiative number 4 is zoning ordinance amendments. So we always have some fun ones here. Looking at front yard setbacks, sign ordinance, and then this is a big one, accessory dwelling units. So that is something that, you know, we'd like to at least, at the very least, start research on and get background to understand the ramifications, what other local cities are doing in that. But that would be the one, if anything, we don't actually come up with an ordinance, but I would be really excited if we did for that. And various commission members are leading up those different ordinance reviews. And then initiative number 5 is really continuing the discussion and the analysis of parking. So we call it public and private parking. So in this year, we did provide a recommendation on ordinance changes. And I think that this is really building on that and reviewing the extent of the subsidy given to really car infrastructure within Edina. So thinking beyond just the parking that we had initially done on our work plan in 2021. Some of our planned deliverables for 2022 include a report to the city council with our findings, a strategy for engaging residents and creating that community dialogue, as well as potential subsequent ordinance revisions. And with that, I will open it up for questions.
Questions for Chair Agnew? So again, it's really a content-rich work plan for you. So many important things that you're addressing that are land use related.
So,
Comment, yeah.
so first,
Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Chair Agnew, for two of my favorite things, one, the parking and also the sign ordinance, especially along Highway 100. So those are two things I've been concerned about. I'm glad you guys are going to be looking at that, so thank you. My question for you, and I have to try and decipher my notes here. We had a discussion and a work session 2 times ago about the public hearing process and the sketch plan. And so I would hope that part of what you're going to do is reach out to some of these people who have gone through the process and testified, because it's when is the public hearing best seated was really, we had a discussion about that. I'm very curious to find out what you learned about that. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I know we've received feedback already and we'll continue those discussions. And then I would also want to include in that analysis, what are other cities doing and what is really the standard?
Terrific. Thank you.
Other questions, comments regarding the proposed work plan for the Planning Commission? No, I think you've got the concurrence of council on the directions you're headed with the various initiatives. So
Wonderful.
thanks for being with us this
Just
evening
take my
live.
time then too. Thank you.
Yeah, very good. And next we have Human Rights and Relations. Michael Epstein is with us, but he's with us virtually to give us the report out for the Human Rights and Relations Commission on the various work plan elements they have for the upcoming year.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Can everyone hear me okay?
We can hear you real well.
Great, thank you. And thank you for selecting us to be on this commission and for all the hard work that council does. We have 5 initiatives for this year, and we did put them in an order of what we felt were the importance of the initiatives. Although we feel they're all important, we just kind of ranked them a little bit ahead of each other this way. So the first one we have is for coordinating sharing values, sharing communities. And this is an event that would be held, we're thinking probably in October. It's an ongoing event. We've done it over the last few years. This year we had an event, it was called Stop the Hate. We had participation from Edina city residents as well as members of the government, both locally and statewide. And we had some other speakers who represented various organizations. The second event is also, or I should say the second initiative is also an event. It's an ongoing event, and it's the Days of Remembrance recognition. Last year was our 10th annual Days of Remembrance. This year, of course, would be our 11th. We have been having hybrid events, and so both Stop the Hate was a hybrid event. Days of Remembrance this year was a hybrid event, and we hope next year to do both of those events also probably in a hybrid fashion. And usually that one takes place around April or May to coincide with Genocide Awareness Month. Initiative number 3 is our Bias Events Response Plan Review. And recently we added that we meet with the police department representative quarterly for updates. Again, this is an ongoing event that the HRRC has done for the past couple years. We did change the deliverable this year. And what we want to do is increase public awareness of Bias Events Response Plan and the bias discrimination for it. We want to make sure that we're just not sure if this is being underreported or not reported to us. The good news is, in my 1 year as chair, we haven't had it hasn't been necessary for us to meet with the police chief for a bias incident. But our only fear is that that may be occurring because people aren't reporting them rather than they're not occurring. And so we want to get a better handle of that and promote the plan so people can see it. I'll move on to initiative number 4. You're going to start to see a theme here. It's another ongoing, and it's also an event, the Tom Oy Award. Tom Oy was one of the founders of our commission, and it's an honor for people to receive the award. Last year, there were students, Rebecca, Rachel, and the Edina High School Black Student Union were awarded for the 2020 Tom Oy Award. Currently, applications are available for the 2022 award, and we generally do that in December at the City Council meeting. Finally, we have a new initiative. It's a project, and it's going to be one where we will study and report. We're researching the city facility naming policy, name from developers and officials, and fundraising policy and donation policies approved through the DI lens. And we recommend a city facility naming policy to the city council. This will be a new initiative for us. And so we hope to start that one right away when our plan starts in January. So it's not necessarily that we have a lot of initiatives, but we do have a lot of work that goes on behind these initiatives. So I can turn it over if there's questions.
Thank you, Chair Epstein. Any questions from council members or comments related to the proposed work plan for the Human Rights and Relations Commission? I think we like the direction you're heading, and you've already done some wonderful events this year. You know, I think the Days of Remembrance, and then the Stop the Hate event that you were involved with. Some really important things for our community, and the ongoing work you're doing is really critically important, I think.
Well, we appreciate the members of council who have attended and helped us with these events as well. So thank you.
All right. Councilmember Pierce has a question or a comment.
Thank you. Just going through your list here, Chair Epstein, the question I have is just one of more structure and resources. Do you feel like you have adequate support from staff and others to plan some of these events? What other resources might be beneficial in helping carry out some of this work?
Oh, well, thank you. I do feel that we have the resources, but only in the sense that we've done some of these before, and so we're able to, it's hard when we've had a few of these where we're kind of starting from scratch. And so what happens is the coordinating sharing values is an event that we do yearly, but the Stop the Hate was a brand new event. And so what it takes each year to put into it is a lot of work and coordination. We have our staff liaison has been wonderful and communicates with us on what we need to be doing. And the city, with the facility has also helped us. But I think the biggest thing is that we've been able to do these in a hybrid fashion. And so we are able to have the people there in person, but we're also getting a tremendous amount of people who are now seeing our events online at a later time. And so it's a good question. I would have to maybe think or go back to my group and say, are there resources out there that we would need or we could benefit from, to help us with our cause, but none are coming to the top of my head.
Thank you. Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Councilmember Jackson?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Epstein. This is really ambitious with lots of events. So thank you for all the hard work that you and everybody else on your commission puts into it. They were outstanding events. I really enjoyed them all.
Thank you.
Last week, we had a meeting with Chuck Marone from Strong Towns, and it was mostly transportation and planning commissions. But I found my notes this morning, and I thought this was a really interesting thing. And this was, like I said, he was talking about roads, but I think this might apply to your events as well. That one of the things that he encourages cities to do is first, humbly observe where people in the community struggle. And then second is what is the next smallest thing we can do to address that struggle? And I think as you're putting on these events and you learn things, that's maybe a good ear to put to the event. So where are people struggling, and is there something small thing that we can do to address that struggle? And then just keep, it says, then do that thing right now and repeat is the advice he gave us. But I thought that was a good advice for a lot of different purposes, not just building roads and sidewalks. But I wanted to share that with you. But again, thank you so much to you. And the park event was great yesterday. I really enjoyed that. And I loved Vice Chair Stringer Moore telling the process that you guys went through for that event. That I really appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, she's been the host of many of our events, and we're lucky we've got a professional in our corner, and so we've really tapped into all of Commissioner Stringer Moore's strengths, and so thank you. Yeah, we were so happy to get that done, and thank you to the city for renaming the park for the Yancey family. Long overdue, and it's really something where people are going to say to themselves, "Who are the Yanceys?" They're going to Google it, and it's going to have an impact. And I think you're right about finding the smallest things we can do and focusing on those, because then we can take away something for our events where we know we've done something tangible right away. So we'll work towards it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Epstein. I was also going to mention this same event yesterday. I neglected to do that in my earlier comments, to have the Human Rights and Relations Commission be part of the rededication of Garden Park to Yancey Park. It couldn't have been a better event, I don't think, yesterday, moderated by Councilmember Pierce, who did a wonderful job, Jasmine Stringer Moore from HRRC, Jesse Kingston, Councilmember Pierce's co-chair from the work that we did on race and equity a few years ago. But having the HRRC there to sort of undergird everything is really critically important. And we thank you and your team, your other commissioners, for being so actively involved in that particular event yesterday.
Well, thank you, Mayor. It's an honor to serve on the commission, and we appreciate all of the leadership.
All right, very good. Thanks for being with us tonight. And I think that probably concludes the council's comments, and we look forward to working with you the rest of the year.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chair. And then we've got our next chair reporting virtually to us as well, and that's Kirk Johnson from the Transportation Commission.
Hello, everybody. I want to do a quick sound check. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, thank you for confirming. And I should be sharing my screen. We have 6 initiatives to review with you. The first is Boulevard tree policy. And the description for that is research, develop, recommend a citywide boulevard policy to address planting, protection, maintenance, removal, and funding. And the deliverable is a policy for consideration by council. Then our next one, initiative 2, is we're calling public transit assessment. And for the simplification, I'm using the staff recommendation for some simplification here. And the description is review guidance related to land use and proposed multimodal facilities, recommend changes to enhance transit connections, and support future transit service. And that would be a report recommendation to City Council. I can mention that all of these initiatives have a target date, timing of 4th quarter 2022. The third out of 6 is related to the Pedestrian and Cyclist Safety Fund, also known as PACS. And because we'd like to investigate this fund in the historic expenditures and look at year-over-year buying power with inflation in mind and any other variables that are interesting or meaningful. And the purpose would be to determine any potential opportunities to revise this to cover existing and future multimodal needs in Edina. And this would also be a report to City Council. Our 4th out of 6 is SRTS, also Safe Routes to Schools demonstration projects. This one features looking at temporary installations of different facilities for pedestrians and bicycling, and get public input on the benefits and trade-offs. And the advantage of this is experimenting and getting experience with something before any permanent facility is installed. Our 5th out of 6 is micro-mobility education. The purpose here is to learn about current and future trends with micro-mobility. And deliverable on this one is a little different. It's actually guest speaker presentation at one of our meetings. And this would also be open, of course, to others interested to participate. And our final one, 6, is traffic impact study process review. And this would, we would be just studying the process, recommended areas of improvements, and outcome of this is deliverable of a report or recommendation for City Council. So those are the highlights. I invite any feedback or questions.
Turn to council members now to see if anybody has any questions on, again, and I'd say another really content-rich work plan proposal for the coming year with these various initiatives that relate to transportation infrastructure, so important for the entire community. Council members, anything? Councilmember Jackson?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for this agenda. It's a really good one. 2 things. First is on the micromobility. I'm sure that your staff liaison told you we have experimented in Edina with scooters and bikes, and to mixed success, we'll put it mildly. So I hope that you get some history of our experience with that in Edina, as well as getting a presenter, because the scooters especially did not go over really well here. And
Yes.
Rent it for the day. So
Agreed.
check with your.
That was what prompted part of our interest in learning more, because of what you mentioned, Councilor Jackson.
Terrific. Okay, good. That's what popped in my mind. And then with the trees, I don't know if you'll get a inventory of the how many trees we have in the city boulevards now, but I would be interested to learn that as part of the research, sort of what we have now and where that would go forward from there.
Noted. Good one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions for the chair? The Chair Johnson? Anything else? Well, thanks for committing yourself and your fellow commissioners to this robust work plan for the next year. Appreciate it. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Mayor. We're excited about all of these, and thank you again for the work session we had leading up to this. Really appreciate it.
All right, very good. Thank you, Chair Johnson. Thanks for being with us this evening. Next, we're going to turn to the Energy and Environment Commission, and the Chair Hilda Martinez is with us virtually this evening. Chair Martinez, good to see you.
Hi.
Even in the virtual world, it's nice to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council members, for having me. As you mentioned, I'm here. Well, first of all, can you hear me well?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay. So I'm here to present the Energy and Environment Commission work plan for 2022. We have 8 initiatives. 2 of them are ongoing initiatives and 6 of them are new. So I'm going to present them. They are not in order of importance. I'm just going to present what we have in there currently. So initiative number 1 has to do with support natural habitat. And what we want to do with this initiative is support new ordinance development or the modification of current ones to protect tree canopy and explore the benefits from initiatives like No Mow May that can help expand the green ground coverage on the city. This initiative is related to the climate action plan that eventually will be presented to you. And this initiative is linked to the strategies and actions in the sector of green space and trees. So what we want to be our deliverable is a review and recommendation to the council in order to have better practice for tree, green spaces, pollinators, and more sustainable private lawn management. Initiative number 2 is an ongoing activity. It has to do with the Green Business Recognition Program. And what we want to do here is to strengthen and bring more businesses to the program. So one of our deliverables will be to double the number of the business participating in this program. This is going to be a year-long activity. Initiative number 3 has to do with organics recycling. What we want to do here is to support and promote the recycling of organics in multifamily buildings. So what we're planning to do here as a deliverable is to review and recommend a process for multifamily buildings to adopt organics recycling. And we think this will be between a half a year and a year-round activity. Initiative number 4 has to do, it's an ongoing activity and has to do with coordinating and tabling at city events to educate the community on initiatives by the EEC. So our deliverables will be at least have presence in 4 city events. We are thinking of maybe the 4th of July, the open streets, the art fair, and the farmers market. Based on the tabling that we have been doing, we include this new initiative that has to do with communication. And what we want to do here is to study and report on best practices, resources, strategies, and tactics that can help us to better communicate the EEC initiatives taking place in the city. So the deliverable for this will be a study and a report on an EEC communication framework to shape awareness and engagement with key initiatives for the community. And this will be a year-round initiative. Initiative number 6 has to do with a plastic bag policy. So what we want to do here is to revise and update the 2017 report on possible recommendations for a plastic bag ordinance. And the deliverable will be an update report with recommendations to the council. Initiative number 7 has to do with stormwater pollution management. And what we want to do here is to keep debris and materials out of the stormwater system. And the deliverable will be a study and report on best practices and existing conditions related to stormwater and stormwater residues. And this will be a year-long activity. And last but not least, we have initiative number 8 that has to do with city networking. And what we want to do here is to coordinate with other cities on sustainable practice broadly. We want to coordinate with the Resilient Cities and Community Organization and try to host 1 to 4 meetings a year with other cities' environmental commissions to share best practice and see how can we learn from each other and try to implement them eventually in our cities. The deliverable will be a quarterly meeting, and it will be a year-long initiative. So that's it for us.
Thing. It's inspiring. Has there been discussion of, we get folks calling us about organized hauling, and we talk about organics, and I forgot to ask the chair of the Transportation Commission about this, but I've got at least one resident that calls me at least once a month and says, why don't we get organized hauling on the ballot next November and see what residents in our community think about that. Have you had conversation about organized hauling at the Energy and Environment Commission?
We did have this as this is one of our current initiatives, and it's basically a joint initiative with the Transportation Commission. They are the leaders. They are leading that initiative, and we are giving them feedback on the report they did based on the survey, on the community surveys done just, I think, this year or last year. So I think there's a report that is going to be handling to the council, maybe probably in the next month or so, because it is a current activity. We didn't include it in our program because most of the work has been done for transportation, and I really thought they were going to maybe have a continuation as an ongoing activity and as an ongoing initiative, but I see that they don't have it. But I think they're sending a recommendation to the council probably very soon.
Confirm that's true. Thank you, Chair Martinez.
What's that?
Mr. Scipione, did you have a comment?
Oh, cartoon. Oh, she was?
You can hear it.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Chair Epstein, I can hear you. There we go. Okay. Other questions from council members? Councilmember Jackson, former Energy and Environment Commission member. I was thinking that you have a few things that you wanted to visit about.
Well, first I want to say thank you to all of you for signing up for all of these activities. Holy Toledo, it's wonderful. One thing that you had in the first initiative, how these initiatives loop back to the climate action plan. I would like to see how these things connect to our plan. And obviously we haven't connected it yet, but I think we went to all this work to have a climate action plan, and it would be helpful for me to have that in the work plan, how they're connected. So that's one thing. Do you have you look like you've got a comment.
Oh, well, at the beginning, when we were deciding the program, the plan, we were thinking of how can we give continuation to the climate action plan, but it's so broadly, so that we just decided to focus on one. And since we have a long history that we wanted to work on trees, that's why we include that one. But eventually, much of the initiatives that several of the commission presented eventually are going to be linked to the climate action plan. Okay. I guess we need to present it to you for you to see that. But yeah, much of them, they're going to be linked them to.
Terrific, thank you. And thank you for including the organics for the multifamily buildings. I have had people approach me about how can we do that if we're in an apartment. So I'm really excited about that initiative. The other comment I had is about the communications. In St. Louis Park, a big part of their climate action plan was creating a portal on the city's website for environmental things. And I hope that that's part of what you guys do with the communications. And I think St. Louis Park actually did a pretty good job with that. But I know that over the years, different people have talked about it in that way. And I know you're going to have strategies and tactics, but I hope that that's.
Want to go outside? You want?
Sure. So on the port, we're just gonna try to get best practice, because what we have seen is that we don't have the proper channel of communication. So we want to learn more. We're not all experts in communication, so that's why we want to work on that. Because since we are having tabling events, we want to be ready and to know how to communicate better, because we have seen that a lot of information that the community doesn't know. So we want to see how can we better communicate to them. And I don't know if you have seen it, but I know that the sustainability coordination that Grace Hancock has been working on a dashboard, currently a sustainability dashboard for the city. So right now it has previous information, but eventually what I understand is that sustainability dashboard is going to be reflecting the advance on the climate action plan as it moves forward, in the implementation. So I don't know if that's
great. Thank you. And thanks again for your leadership and the work of everybody on the commission.
No, thank you for all of you. And I have to say that we have a lot of new members in the commission, and they are all willing to do something. So although it seems like a big plan, I think we're going to be able to do it.
Fantastic.
Other council members have questions for Chair Martinez? Chair Martinez, with regard to working with our sustainability coordinator, Grace Hancock, do you have a sense how we're doing on our greenhouse gas reduction strategy? We've had these goals as a community to make our buildings more efficient and be greener as we go along. Do you know how we're coming along on those goals and whether we should be reporting out on that periodically?
Well, that's one of the things that the climate action plan is going to help. Because we have set new goals, and eventually we have a new baseline for emissions. So I guess it's going to help us to measure how we are reducing our greenhouse gas emissions throughout the period of time of the climate action plan. So I have to say that the work with Grace has been fantastic. She has been very supportive to our commission.
What's the timing of the release of the climate action plan or bringing it to the council?
We are currently, well, we just finished the community comments, and we did have a climate action planning team. So we had all September for everybody to send their comments. Now the consultant is revising all those comments and trying to see which he's going to incorporate in the climate action plan. He's going to present it to the commission our next meeting, that it's in I think 1 week or 2, and then I think we will have it ready to present it to you by December for your approval.
Very good. Thank you. Well, our thanks to you, Chair Martinez, and all your fellow commissioners for the great work you're doing on behalf of the community. Thank you.
No, thank you. And thank you for your support.
All right. We will see you somewhere soon.
Yeah, I hope so. Thank you.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
And next, two presenters, Art and Culture and Park and Rec. Our chairs are with us this evening live, which this hybrid world is a good one. We can go back and forth, but it's always more pleasurable to see somebody face to face. So
it's great to be here.
We've got Chair Sorensen with us, Rebecca Sorensen from Arts and Culture, and nice to have you with us this evening.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you, Mayor Hovland. Thank you, council members, staff. I'm thrilled to present the Arts and Culture 2022 work plan. 2021 was a transition year for our commission, gave us a chance to reflect on who we are, what together we want to accomplish and do for culture in Edina. Armed with the comprehensive plan, the approved 3-year plan, and the HRRC rubric, as well as Manager Neal's advice to lean on our own lived experiences in Edina, I'm very thrilled to present the work plan for 2022. After our joint session with you last spring, we've strived to create initiatives for 2022 that pull together our strengths as both experienced public art enthusiasts, as well as doers who are excited to advise as well, and share our passion for elevating arts and culture visibility in Edina. We have ideas that we think will bring the wow factor to our city that we're all craving in public art by bringing back in-person events, exploring non-traditional mediums like digital art mapping to reimagine and reinvigorate our current cultural landscape. We're proposing that Edina explore a micro grant process to encourage more community-led public art efforts. We want you to lean on this commission when Give to Get development opportunities surface for public art. In short, we're a very united Arts and Culture Commission that embraces arts and culture, weaving into it all aspects of public life as highlighted in the comprehensive plan. That, I'd love to go into some of our highlights for 2022. Initiative 1, implementing year 2 of our 3-year plan, and that is the Mandala Digital Public Art Project. This is a new initiative for the Arts and Culture Commission. As our community experienced the pandemic in all its forms in 2020, 2021, the virus, the pandemic of racial justice, and the pandemic of mental health, we created a safe space online with the virtual gallery From Struggling to Healing, a continuum, to explore how our community experienced the challenges and mending of the past year. Virtual Gallery, as you know, is on Better Together and was the cover story of Edina Magazine's August issue. Our commission for year 2 has decided to expand on the healing aspect of From Struggling to Healing. We think our community needs more healing as it relates to mental health awareness, which it's great to hear that being touched on today with other commissioners. We explored many concepts before landing on the Tibetan healing art form of the Mandala, showcasing it with the cutting edge technique of digital mapping, digital projecting onto district buildings, including school buildings, and potentially in some of our parks like Centennial Lakes Sculpture Park, reinvigorating the sculpture park. And this would be timed to Mental Health Awareness Week in mid-May of 2022. However, I hear a lot of things going on in mid-May. We can certainly look at a different date too. Our proposed Mandela Digital Public Art Project would include Mandela-trained Edina Public School art teachers that we've located and a local BIPOC digital mapping artist to shine the spotlight on the healing of our community as we emerge from the pandemic. We will partner with the Edina Public School art departments, the Edina Education Fund's Heal Together Mental Health Initiative campaign, very eager to participate, and Mosaic, our student arts and culture initiative liaisons, as well as the group itself interested in getting involved. But also call Parks and Rec to get involved. We will create a process for submitting Mandalas and use the HARRC rubric to select examples that would be digitally projected onto each school building as well as in select parks. So this is our big WOW Initiative 1. So we'll carry on to Initiative 2, which is also a new initiative. You've heard about the arts and cultures idea for the year 2 of our 3-year plan. But what else does our community want to see reflected in its public art? We'd like to explore, create, and pilot a community-driven arts and culture microgrant process. We've identified cultural cities like Savannah, Georgia, whose entire Arts and Culture Commission is dedicated to releasing microgrants to the community based on RFPs on the city's website in honor of things like Black History Month, Women's History Month, and Earth Day. These microgrants could be in small denominations. We're looking at 150 to 500, definitely under 1,000 each. We think this is a great way to not only support traditional sculpture park requests that we've been doing, but now encourage more innovative homegrown public art initiatives from our community of all ages and neighborhoods, schools, senior housing, nonprofits, and more. Initiative 3 is a carryover from 2021. We know when developers present proposals before the council, they share concepts that include green spaces for performances or farmers markets or public art, community gathering spaces. But in Edina, we need a stronger point of view or a policy to see these exciting concepts actually come to completion. In many of our neighboring communities, 1% of development budgets over 100,000 are earmarked for green space or public art. We'd like to continue to encourage this conversation here. A great example of a developer that implemented public art into its development is Nolan Main's Plaza, featured in the Star Tribune today, which brought thousands in foot traffic to a business district that had been rocked by the pandemic, with live music, children's theater storytelling for families, even swing dancing on Saturday nights. A simple plaza and some brainstorming, which connected with our commission, brought a great thing to our city last summer and helped revitalize our business district. Today, we're just so excited that that feature happened and that, as the Star Tribune article said, 50th and France is quickly moving on from the pandemic. We want to help make more heroes out of our developers who support public art in all forms. We have a list of recommendations, and we'd like to take this to the next level in a 2022 focused best art practice plan for development in public art. Let's strengthen the city's point of view on public art and development. And for Initiative 4, again, carrying over from 2021, we need the Arts and Culture Commission to continue to be a part of the conversation on the future of the Art Center. We have very long-serving commissioners who live in Edina and have been following the Art Center, as you know, for years. Their community feedback is invaluable to you, and I hope you will still have them at the table and keep them very much a part of the conversation. Initiative 5, and this is a new initiative on CBS this morning today, there was an excellent segment on the importance of communities starting conversations about climate change. It's great to hear Chair Martinez talk about looking for more ways to amplify the climate change action plan. We think we've got an idea. We see our city's Energy and Environment Commission's leadership with this climate change action plan. We think public art can help raise awareness about this important work and get people talking at a local level about the need to act to save our planet. Love to support the Edina High School student group Blue Earth and Cool Planet's efforts to sandblast climate change messaging into the sidewalks of Edina parks with an effort called Climate Change Public Art in the Parks, Time to Earth Day. An online submission process would capture slogans, poetry, language to be selected by our climate change leadership and temporarily etched into the entrances of the parks. With so much work being done by Edina to protect our neighborhoods from the harmful effects of climate change, it's a great way to stay in front of our community with youth-led messaging. So we're reminded that it's up to us to heal our planet for the future citizens of Edina. Initiative 6, I mentioned the performances on the plaza at Nolan Main's that successfully ran last summer, an idea that was formed by the Arts and Culture Commission and presented to the 50th and France stakeholders. We'd like to keep our foot in the door with the successful music series that put the spotlight on emerging as well as diverse talent from the Twin Cities. The concerts provide an excellent opportunity to raise awareness about the Arts and Culture Commission and arts thriving in Edina and underscore the city's desire to be seen as a cultural destination. Dozens of media outlets covered the series, and it really did enliven the business district. It's a fantastic story that's being told. And finally, for Initiative 7, We want to be there for you, council and HRA, when it comes to cultural programming in our city. Lean on us to dream up ideas of how to push the arts into our community. Whether this is looking at new cultural opportunities for our city to explore, perhaps the Edina Theater as a multi-use cultural hub, or a downtown art center gallery. We want to have a seat at the table when these discussions occur. Equally important, we want to have the flexibility to respond to public art opportunities in real time throughout the year. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Chair Sorensen, you bring so much energy to everything you get involved in our community, and there's just some terrific things on this work plan.
Thank you.
Questions from council members or comments? Councilmember Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, Chair Sorensen, I've mentioned this to you before, but I just want to say it again. I'd echo the mayor's comments about your enthusiasm, and you're doing this really independently. You kind of have a floating commission at this time, and so when you are reaching out to the community and jumping in and participating, it means a lot to people in the community. And I commend you again for that attitude and bringing that up. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Councilmember Jackson.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for this agenda. It is ambitious and exciting. So thank you so much. And to the whole commission for their thoughts. One thing is kind of a boring thing, but I do want you to think about the planning process. And I know the Planning Commission is looking at the public hearing and the sketch plan review process and whether that can be streamlined. And so I hope that you can work with the planning staff, because I'm thinking about when we're approving a project, I don't know when the public art when that discussion fits in and how we would go back and forth with a commission that meets once a month. And to do that. So I hope that that's part of the report that you give us.
Yes.
Is a feedback on the process, because I'm a little overwhelmed by how that would work.
We have detailed timelines on all of these initiatives, and we can certainly, I don't know if they're being sent out with our work plan, but we can certainly supplement our work plan with those. So we've scaled the entire year with some of these partners that we want to engage with this year. But really important to have a timeline.
And just and a sense of the process so that it does flow smoothly with the approval process and doesn't slow it down or make it too cumbersome.
It's been a learning experience for sure, just even getting my feet wet as the new chair, and figuring out what's feasible and understanding and being respectful of the workload of our staff as well. And so we're trying to do something. It feels ambitious, but we have we've really looked at our timeline and how we can accomplish these things together. And we've got an incredible group this year. I have to say that it's a wonderful group of people that there are advisory opportunities here, but also we have real doers that want to roll up their sleeves and get in and be a part of things in the community. So we've tried to find items on this work plan that sort of match their skill sets and energy levels, and they're very high. And it's exciting to hear all these other commissions as well just really want to roll up their sleeves in service to our city. So
well, I'm really excited about it, and I'm really excited about getting a tool to make sure that we do have that public art element in our whenever we can insert it. So I'm really
that would be
looking
great.
forward to your work. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, for being with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, great report. All right, and finally, Park and Rec, we've got their work plan. Chair Rick Itis is with us this evening.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Chair, welcome.
Thank you. Mayor and members of the City Council. I had the pleasure today to spend time at our largest park, playing my 61st round of golf this year. Anyway, Initiative 1, which is a continuation of 2021. The keywords there is present information. Reaching back into our community, we're going to do town talk or video, or in some cases in person where we're able to. The items that we're going to cover in that presentation would be 4 key items: the parks, where we're going to talk about the types, the numbers, the location, the various metrics, the amenities that we offer in each park. Item 2 under initiative would be the programming that we have in these various parks. The activities, we use a concept 8 to 80. Are we covering those age groups of all ages and abilities? What's our relationship with the athletic associations in those parks? Item 3, under Initiative 1 would be the various enterprises, where we're going to talk about what are those? Certainly the golf course, the ice arena, the aquatic center. And item 4 under Initiative 1 would be funding, where we talk a little bit about the budget, the operation side of the enterprises, educate people a little bit about the CIP, the process, alternative funding, and discuss a little bit about the fees. Initiative 2, the key words in that one certainly is funding sources. What we've done, and it's not in your packet, we've developed a menu. It's almost a little spreadsheet where down the left side, we've looked at potential funding sources. Those might be levies, foundations, donations, sponsorship, naming rights, Edina People for Parks, local option sales tax, referendums, both for perhaps new or unfunded existing, legacy funds in relationships with other entities such as Hennepin County. On the other side, we've developed 12 areas that we certainly want to look at. Can we allocate or allocate funding sources to these areas? Park infrastructure, the 2 master plans that are remaining, the senior center, arts center, aquatic center, and the other enterprises. Not all these will be possible, so the overriding criteria when we work on this matrix is recommended, can we do these in those particular areas? So it's recommended, not recommended, or certainly needs more discussion. A lot of time, effort, and a lot of commissioners will be involved in this initiative. There is a lot of work behind that one. Initiative 3, the keywords there: review, prioritize, and accessibility. I called this personally the link back to our community. We need to get back. We need to re-educate. This certainly has a strong relationship to 2, not only on the funding and the allocation of funding, but what are we doing back into the community? Initiative 4, volunteers. I think with what we've gone through the last 19 to 20 months, we need to go back in again, reach back to the people that live in our city. Using the current guidelines about volunteerism, what are the seasonal opportunities we have in this city within all those age groups, both youth, high school, and certainly people that are elderly? We're going to hear about what are the expectations from our community. So can we source and blend what we can do from a park system back into that? We have 2 outstanding youth commissioners again this year. We're blessed every time by having 2. We're going to get them back into revisiting our school system, certainly at the high school level, but even reaching down where we can. I think volunteerism, something I think we might take for granted. We certainly don't overutilize, but I think certainly from the park board this year, we want to revisit that. So those are the 4. A couple of them are continuations, but the one about funding sources, number 2, is we're going to need a lot of effort from our commissioners on that. But very challenging, but I think it'll be very fruitful for us to get done.
Very good. Thank you, Chairitis. Questions for Chairitis or comments regarding the proposed work plan for the Park Commission?
So,
Commissioner?
oh, I can leave my thing on, can I? So I guess the timing of the funding, so you're looking at spending the next year, continuing to refine your funding list?
Yes, I think, there's a lot of funding. I think there's 14 times 12 areas that we looked at. Some we can't do. Obviously, the sales tax option is only applicable in a couple of those areas. Donations, naming rights. There's going to be some possibilities or opportunities to use those. So I think they don't all fit all 12 areas. So it's,
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a challenge for us, but I think very, there's going to, some ongoing. I think it's something that we're going to use for.
So do you see giving a presentation some point in time next year on your findings on
Yes.
it? Okay,
Yep.
terrific.
Yep.
Thank you so much. And thanks for all the hard work.
Thank you.
Other questions for Chair Itis? I'm just wondering if you've had any preliminary conversations yet with staff as to the role the Park Commission might play with respect to the local option sales tax matters that would be on the ballot next fall in terms of us being able to provide information as a community to the public as to what those matters are about. Has there been some discussion at the Park Commission?
Yeah,
as to
that
potential
was
roles
one
for
of the
you?
14 items, the funding sources. And I think, there's only 2 columns that's going to be able to be. So we have answers.
Okay. All right. Very good. Other questions for Chair Itis? All right, Chair Itis, thanks for being with us this evening.
Thank you.
And thanks for sticking with us for an hour and a half or so here.
You bet.
Thanks for batting cleanup. All right. Well, that concludes the work of the, unless anybody on the council has a question, that concludes the work of the council on this work session for this Tuesday, October 5th, 2021. We'll be going into a regular council session here in about 8 minutes. Is there a motion to adjourn the work session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion by Member Jackson, second by Member Pierce to adjourn the work session. Any further discussion? All those in favor of adjourning the work session of the city council meeting for the city council on Tuesday, October 5th, 2021, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. The work session stands adjourned and we will reconvene in about 8 minutes.